Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back to another Mindset and Motivation Monday podcast here on the Cabral Concept. I'm Dr. Stephen Cabral, board-certified doctor of naturopathy. One of the reasons why I love doing these Monday shows is that I found many, many years ago that in order to be able to heal the body, the mind must be an active participant. And for the most part, what I've realized over the years are there is a protocol that is going to work for someone and for everyone out there, meaning that we have the right protocol for you, whether it's myself or a naturopathic doctor or a functional medicine doctor you're working with, an integrative health practitioner. There is a protocol. There's no doubt about that. But the issue is this. Many people never even get themselves to that protocol. They're not able to believe enough in themselves in order to believe that they have a chance to succeed. Or they've given up many, many years ago into saying that, well, health and happiness, that's for other people. It's not for me. It's not for my family. It's not for my circle of friends. It's not for people that come from where I've come from. And they basically have given up. The problem with that is that it's simply not true, meaning the story that you're writing and telling for yourself is not actual reality. It is your reality. So yes, in fact, I guess it is reality because it's yours. However, that reality could change at any moment for you if you decide. The biggest issue, though, is making that decision, because you have to at least believe in yourself just enough to say there's a chance. And a chance is all that we need, because I'm telling you right now, you don't have to be the one to figure it all out. The problem is you just need to be able to say, okay, there is a problem. There is someone out there. There is some plan out there that I may get benefit from. Once you allow yourself to simply suspend that disbelief, right? So you're saying like, I don't know how it's going to happen. That's truthful, right? Your subconscious can believe that. But you say to yourself, okay, I don't know how, but someone does. Someone out there has recovered from whatever I've recovered, whether it be, again, relationship issues, body issues, health issues, spirituality issues, financial issues, like whatever it might be, someone was most likely in your position and potentially even a lot worse. That's always how I look at things now. And whenever that struggle arises, we have to start to think a little bit differently about our core set of beliefs. And so today's topic was really interesting. And when I started to learn more about this, I became fascinated because I always knew the concept existed, but I didn't know that there was an actual clinical term for it. So I want to share with you something that I've been looking a lot more into recently, because I'm someone that just likes to step back, meaning that, and this will become really apparent in just a moment, but you know, we have different media outlets out there, right? Like, let's say you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're watching, what are the big news channels? I don't watch news, I don't watch TV, so I don't know as many, but I know for sure there's like MSNBC, there is you can see how bad I am at the news channels. I know there's a Fox News. I know there's MSN. Okay. So we look at those though, right? And they're giving us different stories, right? This channel is all about this particular viewpoint and they slant things to that viewpoint. This other channel over here, well, they're kind of the polar opposite and they slant things to that viewpoint. And you have to start to ask yourself, again, if you're just kind of willing to just step back a little bit, you just say, listen, no dog in the race here, just trying to figure out what's going on, what the actual truth is. You step back and saying, well, what is the truth? Because they're saying this and they're saying this, and it's sometimes difficult in life to understand. Again, that's where I place myself, is just saying, listen, from an outsider, I'm trying to say, hey, who's telling the truth? What is going on here? So I've been really kind of looking more into the different fractions and factions that have been set up, but kind of in different camps, and why people lie there and why people lie on the other side. And maybe what I can glean from it is some type of knowledge so that I can maybe share it with you as well. Well, one thing that I uncovered is this thing called Gellman, Gellman. It was named for Murray Gellman. He coined the term Gellman amnesia. Now, I want to give you an exact quote right here as to what it's said to be. So Briefly stated, the Gellman amnesia effect is as follows. You open the newspaper to an article on some subject you know very well. In Murray's case, physics. In mine, show business. You read the article and you see the journalist has absolutely no understanding of either the facts or the issues. Often the article is so wrong it actually presents the story backward, reversing cause and effect. I call these the wet streets cause rain stories, papers full of them. In any case, you read with exacerbation or amusement the multiple errors in the story, and then turn the page to national or international affairs and read as if the rest of the newspaper was somehow more accurate about the baloney you just read. Turn the page and you forget what you know. So when I read this, and this was written by, and I apologize, I'm not going to pronounce the writer's name correctly, Michael Crichton. Again, I apologize there. And what I want to share with you is this, though. It's very interesting because when we look at the world around us, when we tune into Instagram stories and Facebook news and Apple news and MSN and Fox News, all these different outlets, we stop our critical thinking. And this is a subject that I wanted to share with you because when you're watching any news or any videos, you actually shift a little bit in terms of brain state. And you allow that information to be absorbed in with almost no real filter. So you're absorbing it in as if it's the truth. And we have to understand is that most people have an end objective. Sometimes it's benevolent, sometimes it's for the best of everyone, and sometimes it's not. And to be honest, like even when it's not, sometimes the people saying it or doing it still believe they have your best interest in mind. So there's two parts to what I want to share with you today. The first one is this. We simply have to, I think, have a little bit more of a filter as to saying, what's deeper into this story, right? So we need to look more into our world around us. I think that's very, very important, but that is not what I wanted to share with you here today. The bigger message that I want to share with you is this, is that oftentimes we have these core competencies, right? We have these core beliefs in ourselves. They're like, hey, we know how to do this one thing. Right? It's just this one thing. Let's say that, let's say that we take someone that's a great health coach. And though everything then outside of that health coaching realm, whether it be about finances or their relationship or how they can raise their kids or, whatever it might be, they then give up all of that power to someone else. So they simply say, I am only good at this one thing. I can only do this one thing. Like I could never lose the weight. I could never get in great shape. I could never write a book. I could never, and just go with all the different things because that's not who I am, right? So they change the phrases inside of their head as to saying, well, I can do this one thing, but then they shift to any other thing that they don't believe it is part of who they are at their core to saying, well, I can't do that. That's not me. Kind of going back to that Gellman amnesia, I'm using the analogy as to saying, oh, you believe like you know this one area, but then everything else, you just kind of give up your control. You give that control to other people. What I'm saying this is that there is nothing that you can't accomplish. There is absolutely nothing that you can't do. It doesn't matter to me if you haven't been able to lose that 50 to 80 pounds or 100 pounds in 10 years. That does not matter to me. It matters to you in the fact that you don't believe that you can do it. But I know that you can. There's no doubt about that. I know that you can. It doesn't matter how strong that belief is to you, because I know on the other side of it that you can lose it. The problem is you've most likely been struggling to lose weight by dropping your carbs, dropping your calories, potentially increasing your exercise, and you haven't looked at the other parts of the equation. You haven't looked at thermogenesis. You haven't looked at your sleep quality, REM versus deep sleep. You haven't looked at thyroid. You haven't looked at estrogen dominance. You haven't looked at levels of DHEA. You haven't looked at levels of vitamin D. Like there are levels to this, right? And so what I'm saying to you is if some of that information I just stated is new to you, that's because it's outside of your current reality. But if you allow yourself to believe that you can take some of that outside knowledge and make it part of you, well, then you can achieve that as well. And then all of a sudden, what happens when you lose that 50, 60, 100 pounds? All of a sudden now that becomes one of your core competencies that you didn't believe in a million years that you could control within your life. And now you can. Maybe you're someone where more of the kapha body type, endomorph body type, you're going to always lean a little bit more towards gaining weight. That's okay, because you know how to keep it off, right? You know how to keep it off. Just like the ectomorph always leans towards more catabolic, they have to understand how to keep the weight on, not become too catabolic, not become too osteoporotic where they're bone loss and they're losing muscle as well. Really, really important to look at that. But let's take another equation. What about health? How many people right now are dealing with autoimmune issues? So many, right? 100 million people in just the US alone. And again, it used to be 55, 75. They believe it's closer to 100 million people. I mean, when we look at that, we say, how is that number even possible? Well, it's possible when we look at the amount of people with the precursors to an autoimmune. Remember, an autoimmune process starts 5 years, 7 years before it ever manifests. Right? Because what are we looking at? Well, we're looking at the underlying root causes of autoimmune issues. So if you are someone dealing with an autoimmune issue, you're saying, well, I can only take these biological drugs. I have to do this. I have to do that. You know, it's a tough one, because you have to understand is that the reason you have the autoimmune issue is simply because, yes, it's part of the genetics, but the genetics don't have to express themselves. I had autoimmune issues. There's no doubt about it, right? I had joint issues. I had all sorts of issues. Well, here's the problem. Is that once I found out from other practitioners why my genetics were manifesting in that way, then I began to be able to reverse that process. And now it would be difficult for me to go back to have autoimmune issues because I know what caused in the first place. And the big one for me was the improper and imbalanced gut microbiome, candida overgrowth, bacterial overgrowth, H. pylori, overactive immune system with food sensitivities, intestinal permeability. That was a big one for me. There's no doubt about that. So again, if that's new to you, then you might say, oh, well, I didn't know that, but now you do. And so what do you start to do? Well, you start to explore the process. Maybe you run an at-home lab. Maybe you do something like the CBO protocol. You just start to move forward. And the more that you move forward, the more that you learn, all of a sudden, now that's one of your core competencies. And who knows, a year from now, you might be teaching this to someone else, right? That is how this process begins. So what I'm asking you to do is this. Every time you start to look at a subject, I want you to say, is this something that's within your core competency or not, right? And if it's not, that's okay, because again, I don't have a million core competencies. I do what I do. I know what I know. However, if I begin to set a goal for myself, whatever it might be, and you know that I always talk about the big five, right? Relationships, that includes all family, spouses, etc. We've got our body, right? It's our vessel that moves us through life. It has to be in shape. It has to be in shape. This is not about vanity. You need this body, right? This human meat suit to move you through life for 100 years, right? 100 years if we're lucky. 100 years if we're doing all the things correctly. And we want that good quality of life. You can't wear out your joints. You can't wear out, your body. You have to always be working on recovery, of course, as well as your exercise, all these different things. So then we have our health. Of course, we need our health, because we're not going to make it to 80 years old. That's for sure. And never mind 100 if we don't have our health. And then our spirituality and our career and finances as well. So let's just say for me, I'm looking to, let's just throw something out there. You're looking to get a new car. Okay. And you say, well, right now I don't have the means to get that new car. Well, how much would the new car cost you? Let's say it's $500. So $500 is $500 you don't have right now, but you'd love to be driving this new car. Well, what could you do to earn that $500? Because a lot of people won't ask that next question, like, oh, I can never have that car because I don't have $500 more. Well, you have to start to ask yourself, how could you earn $500 or more, right? Like, that's the first step. Because when you think about it, you say, well, that's a lot of money. And I agree with you if you look at the $500 more per month. But let's break it down a little bit further. $500 is what? About $125 a week, right? A little bit less than that if we use a 52-week year, but let's just use it on 12 months. Okay, so now we look at that and we say, okay, $125 per week. Well, let's break it down a little bit further. It's what, $25 a day, Monday through Friday. And that makes it a lot more accessible, right? So let's just say you really want this car for whatever reason. It represents something that means a lot to you because it's kind of like part of who you are. And this car is just saying, it's not an ego thing, but it's manifesting like it's basically saying, hey, I did something in order to be able to achieve this. And this is the reward that I got, right? And so you might say to yourself, okay, well, $25 a day. Is there an activity that I could do one day a week for $125 or 1 hour a day for $25 or maybe 2 hours a day? Again, it depends on how important it is to you. But let's say you make $25 an hour. So what could you work 1 more hour a day before work, after work, during your lunch break, a weekend, whatever it might be, that you could then earn $25 an hour? Maybe you tutor in the subject that you're really great at, right? Maybe you do your coaching of some way. Like, again, it could be many different things, but you have to be the one to say, okay, this means enough to me, and now I can achieve it. So basically what I'm sharing with you is we just went from a mindset that you could never have that car to saying, well, maybe I could. And how could I? Well, $500 a month, that's a lot. Oh, but that's $125 a week, and that's $25 per day. Well, $25 per day. What else could I do? Well, maybe I could cut out that $5 coffee, or $10 twice a day for some type of special Starbucks latte and that muffin, whatever it might be. Again, you can start to look at it in a different way. So what I'm asking you is this. Every time you encounter a topic, a subject, something that you just don't believe that you can have, you don't believe that you can be, you don't believe that you can manifest in your own life, I want you to begin to break it down a little bit easier and further, because whatever your core competency is, again, let's just say it's health coaching. Well, you used to know nothing about health coaching, right? I mean, let's be honest, right? You used to know nothing about it. I didn't know anything about it, that's for sure, right? So until I was about 18 years oold, didn't know anything about health. Knew very little about fitness, right? I worked out a little bit. I read some magazines. I played sports in high school, but I wouldn't say that I knew anything really about it except that I did it. So for 18 years, I knew nothing. And then what did I do? Well, I spend time then learning about it. And that's the truth, is that if you are interested, you're passionate about a topic, that there's no end to what you can learn or be or do or become. That's the truth. So and as I always say, it's not a matter of if it means a lot to you, it's simply a matter of when. That's it, right? We can go back to that car example for a minute. Well, yeah, $500 is a lot each month. Well, what do? Maybe you save for a year because you don't want to put yourself under that type of stress, having to make that $25 extra a day, whatever it might be. Okay, so you save for a year. And at the end of the year, if that car is still really important to you, it's going to be there. Like, it's not going anywhere. You put that vision board up, right? You put that car up on the wall, you can make it happen and you'll work towards it. Now, after a year, 9 months, whatever you'd like to do, because you're more confident, you go and you sign that lease, you do whatever you want for that car. And what you're doing now is say, okay, I've got a year banked, and now I'm going to continue on. No stress, no worry. I can move on with this patent. And I'll tell you what, when you start with that, you might say, wow, like there's something to this. Maybe I could earn $50 an hour. Now I work half the time. Or, wow, I'm starting to find a nice little part-time job that I'm really enjoying doing, making money, and look at all the different things that's happening in my life. And again, the same thing can happen with body transformation, health transformation, relationship transformation, and spirituality transformation. All I need you to do is decide what it is that you want and not believe that it's for other people out there and not you, right? That literally is amnesia, going back to your childhood, when you believe that you could do, you could be, you could see, you could be and become anything that you want in your life, right? Like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, kids are like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be this. I want to be whatever it might be. Well, you believed back then, right? And then you hit a level of amnesia where, reality, as we say, let's put that in air quotes, and adulthood and all those different stresses and relationships and everything came up. And you forgot that you still have all of those things inside of you. You just have to choose which one and which direction you're going to move. So you already know that you're good at something, whatever that thing is. Now go back to the time when you weren't good at that something. What did you do in order to achieve it? You had to do something. And it always starts with more or less this. Suspend disbelief. You can believe you can make it happen. You have an interest in it. You start to read more about it. You start to learn more about it. And then all of a sudden you say, well, I'm going to take action on this. You don't exactly know what actions to take, but you start with something. You move forward. As you move forward, you learn more because you only learn more through trial and error. So you learn more because you started to take action. All of a sudden, you get some small wins. Those small wins turn into bigger wins. Those bigger wins all of a sudden allow you to manifest exactly what it is that you desired. Well, you can take that same exact blueprint and add it to any one area of your life. I'm telling you right now, begin to suspend disbelief, set a big vision or goal for yourself, and then go out there and get after it. Thank you so much for tuning into today's Cabral Concept. I appreciate you. I truly do. If this podcast was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. Thank you so much for just tuning into the show. And before you go, I can't wait to share with you a brand new debut over at Equilife. We have just come out with our single serving daily nutritional support packets. This is the same daily nutritional support powder, just made that much easier in single serve packets. This allows you to get all of your vitamins, your minerals, your electrolytes, your 15 grams of hypoallergenic vegan-based protein powder, your daily detox factors, and so much more. It is a true all-in-one functional medicine-based formula, and it is the perfect way to start your day. That's why we have so many people, thousands upon thousands of people inside of our global health community using it as part of their daily foundational protocol every single day. You're getting that pure chocolate flavor or pure vanilla, and it of course is non-GMO. So you can now get that in single serve packets, which means that let's say that you're leaving for the weekend, you're traveling, whatever it might be. These are easy on-the-go packets. You can put them in your gym bag. You can use them on the detox while at work, whatever works for you. So you can get now over at equa.life a 14-serving box. That is the same amount of servings in one of your daily nutritional support jars. Same exact amount of servings. And you can get that right now at 10% off during the debut. Head on over to equi.life for 10% off the new single-serving daily nutritional support shake packets. Take care, everyone.